الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وبيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدًا عبد الله ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك وأكرم وأنعم على حبيبنا المصطفى محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. قال عز من قائل بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. My dear brothers and sisters and brothers, I welcome all of you to the Muslim Center of Greater Princeton on this blessed day of Jummah, on this blessed Friday in which we seek the refuge and salvation of our hearts, and we seek the beauty and the taqwa and the consciousness of our hearts to wake up and to smell the fresh air, to feel the rain on our skin, to feel alive, and to know that there is no life. There is no life without death. There is no happiness without understanding that this world carries a deep sense of loss. And this world is a place of immense humility. And even in our strongest moments, the world will find a way to humble us. When Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, when he entered Jerusalem in 638 CE, 6 years after the passing of our beloved sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Umar ibn al-Khattab had sent 7 armies from Medina to Jerusalem. And the Patriarch of Jerusalem, Safwan, he had requested, I will negotiate a treaty, but I will only do so with Amir al-Mu'mineen, with Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu himself. And so word was sent back to Umar. He held council, and his 2 closest counselors, Ali ibn Abi Talib and Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. One of them told him, stay back in Medina, right? It's not safe, it could be a trap. Let your armies take care of things. Let Abu Ubaidah take care of things. But Ali ibn Abi Talib He told them, no, go forth and make the treaty. And so Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu proceeded towards Jerusalem. And as he was at the gates, he was wearing a garment with 14 patches in it. A deep sense of humility. And so Abu Ubaidah told him, you should wear something nice. Put on a nice fresh thobe. Put on a nice scarf over your shoulder. And ride this horse as you enter Jerusalem. And so Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he agreed. He put on the nice thobe, he put on the scarf, he mounted the horse. And then when he got on the horse started to shake. And so Umar ibn Khattab at that moment, he realized this is not the time for a grand entrance. This is a time for humility. And so he took off the thobe, he took off the scarf, he got off the horse, he put back on his garment with 14 patches on it. And he walked into Jerusalem on foot. And when he met Sophronius, he was taken to a church. And he was offered to pray. He asked for somewhere to pray. He was taken to this church to pray. So Umar ibn Khattab, in his understanding, he understood that wherever I pray will become a masjid. The Muslims will want to memorialize this space. So he refused to pray in that church. And instead, he prayed outside, and where he prayed is now Masjid Umar in Jerusalem. The Muslims, even in great strength, were masters of humility. And this is a hard lesson for many of us. It's a hard lesson for many of us. Because we feel that now is the time for our strength. Now is the time for us to speak up. And when Umar ibn Khattab entered those gates, they told him, let us surround you with many people so they know, don't mess around, right? So they know who they're messing with. And Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he recited the verse from Surah At-Tawbah, where he said, لا يصيبنا إلا ما كتب الله لنا هو مولانا وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. He said, لا يصيبنا, nothing befalls us except what Allah has written for us. He is our protector, and upon Him let the believers put their trust. And so he went forth alone. And this is a powerful lesson for us. There is no courage without humility. There is no speaking up without humility. And if Muslims lose their humility, they have betrayed the path of their tradition. And so, it's important for us to remember these truths. Most of you are Muslim because your parents brought you up in Islam. And so on the exterior of the Dome of the Rock, which was built by the Umayyad Khalifa Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, he had the entire dome inscribed around it, Surah Yasin. And it opens, when you see it, where Allah reminds the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّكَ عَلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. You are on a straight path. Why are you on a straight path? لِتُنذِرَ قَوْمًا مَا أُنذِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ. You are on a straight path. You are Muslim. You have been given the honor and the gift and the privilege. Why? So you can remind a people who were not given the message by their fathers. فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ. And that is the reason why they are in ghafla. That is the reason why they are heedless and asleep. You never forget that. You know, it seems like the narratives today want to make everyone complicit in the oppression of others. They're like, oh, you're complicit. You're neutral. You're on the side of the oppressors. We are entering discussions already combative because we haven't trained our nufus. We haven't trained our souls to engage with strength while in a deep state of humility. So he says, you are on a straight path so that you can wake people up who did not receive the gift of guidance that you received. And this is what it means to live in a prophetic space, to live in a space of heart in which you are aligned with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was the bravest, the most courageous. But at the same time, right, he is Ra'uf, Rahim, merciful, gentle, right? Whenever you go into one side of equality and you abandon the other side of that quality, you are entering into a state of imbalance. And when you enter into a state of imbalance, you will harm others. Even your own presence in this country, if it is not grounded in humility and in balance, you will cause harm to yourself and to others. And so, even us at the Muslim Center of Greater Princeton, we have not understood the gravity of our presence here. As I stand here, where the Lenape tribe of the Native Americans, of the indigenous, once had their homes built. Someone had to demolish their homes. Someone had to oppress these Native American tribes for us to be here. So we have to understand that this cycle of oppression is one that requires our humility to understand that we are not fighting a people, or we are not fighting a moment in time. We are fighting against the dehumanization of humanity itself. And so when you enter into your neighborhood, into your home, you have an understanding that I am here with these people in a deep state of humility, and it is my job to honor them. And you want to talk about the dehumanization of the Palestinians. But if I ask you, what's the name of your neighbor on the right and the neighbor on your left? Right? What are your neighbors' names? What's happening in their lives? And the question is, as Muslims in America, are the people around you even humanized? And ask yourself, is this really an Israeli problem? Or is it a problem that I have to confront within myself? Have I dehumanized the people around me? My colleagues, hi, bye, our community members. Have we had heart to heart? Do we know each other's names? Do we know each other's struggles? Have we humanized each other? And I know you guys have heard me say this so much, but it is worth repeating. It is worth repeating that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood in awe of the Kaaba. In awe of the Kaaba. ما أطهرك وما أطيبك. How beautiful, how fragrant. And he said, but in the eyes of Allah, the believer, their blood, their property, their life is greater in the eyes of Allah. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And do you actually walk around and live your life understanding that the person that's sitting next to you is greater than the Kaaba? You are sitting next to a Kaaba right now. That is how we resist dehumanization. You have to see the sacred in the human being. Look at how much detail and how much beauty and how much power Allah has invested in just one human being. Allah cares about human beings. Allah cares about the hearts of human beings. And a humanization movement, if we are truly aligned in heart with the Palestinian people, then we have to seize this day to make sure that every human being around us feels deeply valued. Yesterday I was speaking to our seniors. I told them, there's no greater compliment that you can give to someone more than to say, I need you. I need you. I need you to strengthen me. I need you to love me to God. I need you to help me grow and flourish and end my life in a way that I am closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our arrogance has deluded us into making statements in which we actually show people that we do not need them. You're replaceable. We don't need you. Right? I have a million other things that I can rely on. Others. And so we divide ourselves. We divide ourselves because we lack the vulnerability for the parent to stop telling the child, you need me. I pay your bills. I do this for you. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to guide you. You got it all wrong. You, out of humility, need to tell them, I need you. It is I who needs you. And watch that relationship flip. And we have to tell, inshallah ta'ala, our American brothers and sisters, as Muslims, I'm not on my high horse. I need you. We need to tell the American public, we need you. We need your help. As a statement of absolute prophetic humility. And when we humble ourselves, as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, when you humble yourself, Allah will raise you to heights unimagined. Do you believe that? Do you have iman in that? Or do you believe that the more that you beat your chest, the more Allah will raise you? And when Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu entered Jerusalem, he was only imitating divine mercy. As the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam entered Mecca during the Fath with his stomach against the back of his animal, right? Completely lowered. He didn't enter from here. He made a statement of humility. Let us all, inshaAllah ta'ala, make a statement of humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and heal our communities and heal our relationships through a deep sense of humility and vulnerability and expression of love. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to have the courage to know that when we turn to Him, لَا يُصِيبُنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا, nothing befalls us except what you have written for us. هو مولانا وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. MashaAllah, so many Muslims around the world yesterday practiced a global day of fasting, increased in their dua and their prayer, and we've been doing so here at the masjid as well. And alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, we actually have a bus that is going to DC for a protest tomorrow, although I'm not sure how many seats are left. It's very limited, but alhamdulillah, happy to say that our community members are really showing great strength and great humility in trying their best to help and be helped through this cause. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from them. Tonight, inshallah, we'll be having a talk on a theology of hope. A theology of hope, rooting ourselves in faith during adversity. So inshallah ta'ala, that will be at 7:30 p.m. sharp. And around Maghrib time, I will be here to give individual counsel or answer questions or what it may be. So inshallah, come out if you know someone who's particularly struggling with these issues mentally and spiritually. That's a good time to come out and kind of talk things through and have some healing, inshallah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us all the strength and humility of Iman, and to give us afiyah, health and goodness in our bodies and in our states. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to alleviate the deep pain of our mothers and fathers and children in Gaza, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them the courage to resist their situation, but also at the same time increase them in their contentment and their fulfillment and understanding of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is loving them and enveloping them and surrounding them with, and above all allow them and us to maintain the most beautiful of opinions of Allah. O Allah, increase us in al-husn al-dhan billah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. O Allah, the sick of our ummah, we ask that you heal them. The oppressed of our ummah, we ask that you free them. The in debt and in poverty of our ummah, we ask that you enrich them, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, we ask you to heal our hearts. We ask you to purify our intentions and our motives and our actions. Ya Rabbil Alameen, we ask you to bring our hearts out from these ribs and place them in our hands as we are making dua. And we ask you, Ya Rabbil Alameen, to bring out the light of that heart, to make it pure as you purify the white garment, Ya Rabb. Wash it with ice and with snow and with hail and with sleet, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and allow us to be of those whom you have chosen to meet with you biqalbin salim, with the most pure of hearts, and allow us, Ya Rabbil Alameen, to gather with the entirety of the ummah upon the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask that you are pleased with us and that you place in our hearts a deep-seated contentment and pleasure with you. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.